it's testimony time. So come on up. We can line up like Disneyland if you'd like, or if you can just run up if you like as well. Yay! Woo!
Hi, so I came to the prayer house on Monday, and I was a mess, to say the least. And but I just wanted to show you that all these pages in here is my testimony, and I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I was like literally sobbing. I thought my life was over, and even though my physical immediate situation hasn't changed, I haven't cried since, and I've been completely like the stress is gone. I'm not worried about it. I gave it to God. I left it there, and I know that whatever is on the other side of this is going to be amazing. So thank you.
So good. He takes care of everything. Okay, who else? Who else? Who else? I know there's some out there. Woo! Yay, Jen! Powerful one.
Okay, I'm just going to read this to make it quick and to the point. I have been praying really hard and heavy, and with my eyes closed, I could see myself looking into the horizon, and I couldn't see anything there, but I heard a rhythm beat, and it sounded like a drum, and the sound was moving towards me, and the closer that it got, I realized that the beat of what I was hearing was the same beat as my heart. And then in the vision, or my imagination, whatever it was, I found myself standing in here at church in my regular spot, and the audible sound seemed to follow me into the church, and it grew louder and louder, and eventually it turned into a roar, and everyone within the church experienced the same as me, that they were all holding onto their chest, experiencing that their heartbeat was beating with the same sound that was filling the atmosphere. All right, and then as it kept getting louder and louder, and we were clutching our hearts, people were holding on to the front of the chairs because the ground was starting to shake. Microphones up here were starting to shake, and the whole presence of all the shaking that we felt with the heartbeat that we were hearing vibrated out from the church and went into the community and woke people up from their sleep and brought them in to be born.
Wow. That is awesome. That is so cool. Woo! God's doing amazing things. Who else has an awesome testimony? Come on up. I know there's more. Are you coming up? Okay. I didn't know where he's going. Yay!
So I have a couple of heaven and business testimonies. One being that a guy was going to walk out of my work. He was irritated on July 4th. He ended up, I stopped him, told him just to give me a few minutes. I was going to finish with somebody. He ended up having like an $11,000 sale. So it actually profited everybody else and this other stuff. But then the really one that really touched me, which was really cool, but the job I'm in now, I'm just a salesman. So I'm not doing a lot of the physical labor stuff. So I'm able to walk around more and talk with people, which I love to do. So I was talking with somebody, and I said something about Hobby Lobby. They had something that happened, and I said, you could go there to Hobby Lobby and get this to fix what you want to do. And the lady's like, oh, yeah. And I said, we did this in our children's church room. We used a lot of stuff from there to do things. And I said it to try and open something up, and it did. They go to church in Belmar, and they work in the gifts. And they were talking about Sean Bolts, and I was telling them, she was like, man, I really wish that I could meet somebody that actually had him call them out. And I was like, well, today's your lucky day because I'm one of them. And she's like, no way. So I show her the video, and I'm telling her, and I'm just like, yeah, we gave such a good word for our church. It was so encouraging. And then all of a sudden, God was like, get ready. I'm going to give you some words. And I was like, okay, yes. So I'm like, yes, all right. And you guys know I work in the prophetic. But anyway, so this time it was really cool because I've been seeking again for like names and dates and all these things. So the Lord gave me her grandson, exactly what he looked like. I described him to the T to her, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's my grandson. And I was like, is he going on the missions field? And she was like, yes, he's going to World's Missions. I was like, oh, God wanted me to tell you, your daughter or his mom, stop worrying, he's got him. And she's like, oh, hold on a second. She pulls out her phone and she records it because she's like, she's terrified because wherever he's going. And I said, okay. So I said, God has him. He's coming home. It's no big deal. And then I was like, there's somebody else. And the name was, Kyle. And I said, does he have like MS or like, is there something going on there? And she's like, yes. And I said, well, tell his mom that he's going to follow the Lord and to just keep praying and stop worrying. And she's like, oh my goodness. She pulls her phone out again and records it. So it was really cool to see God working in that way and that he's opened up. And while we're talking about this, by the way, you guys know I cry when I manifest, right? So I'm like in the middle of my aisle, of the main aisle of Lowe's, and me and this man are like crying, like weeping in the middle of the aisle. So my coworkers afterwards were like, what was that about? And I was like, it's a God thing, and they're like, okay, and they walked away. But it did actually open up some conversations since then with my coworkers about what it looks like when God touches my heart and what it looks like. So it's pretty cool.
Woo, I love that. So good. God is moving. And speaking of God moving, we have an awesome teacher tonight. So if Teresa, you could come forward, we're going to hear some great stuff.